is The Sports Life.
And there it is. It's official. The Penn State Nittany Lions are the national champions.
Mariota just flings that one down the left side of the field. Intercepted by Eli Apple at the 25. And Apple will go to the ground at the 32, and that's it. Ohio State national champions for the 8th time as they defeat Oregon 42-20.
And welcome into the Sports Life. Will Teeman here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, since it's time to pick a national champion in football, and we have 4 Big Ten teams out of 12 with a shot at doing it, why not open the show with the Big Ten winning in '86 with Penn State and 15 with Ohio State?
Absolutely, and really that foreshadows a lot of what this week's show is going to be like on the Sports Life, because Tim May of Lettermen Row is going to join us to talk Ohio State football and preview the matchup with Tennessee. Meanwhile, Steve Jones, the voice of the Nittany Lions, will join us to break down the matchup with SMU to come up in the first round of the college football playoffs.
And we're going to present Tom Izzo in a light most people may not be ready for.
I think that's fair to say.
Well, how about the sounds of the week, Dalton?
Well, with the sounds of the week, much to what Will was just talking about a moment ago with Tom Izzo, it's become an annual tradition around Mid-Michigan for Tom Izzo at his weekly radio show to one time a year before the holidays really hit, get his entire team out to the live audience portion of the restaurant, and they all sing Christmas carols while he plays the backtrack behind them with an accordion. You heard that right. An accordion. Tom Izzo, the Hall of Famer, plays an accordion behind them each and every year. And to give you a little bit of a sample of really the fun, the energy, and the chaos it all is, we're going to go back and play a portion of this from the Final Four team from 2015 for Michigan State that went out there at the end of 2014. And here's what it sounds like year after year.
Pulling up the lyrics. You don't even know the lyrics?
It's foreign. Come on.
All right, now remember, don't screw this up now. You guys, if I stop, you stop. All right?
Yeah.
Travis, you're the police cop on this group here. All right?
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Hello?
I'll play the first part, and then you get the idea, the rhythm of this thing, okay? And then we'll start singing after I tell you.
Yeah. Turn up.
See, that's what I mean. See, that's what I'm talking about. You follow me, Sal.
Dang, Matt.
All right, and a 1, and a 2, and a 1, 2, 3.
Fields we go, laughing all the way.
Turn up.
Bells on the ring, making spirits bright. To ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on the one-horse sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on a one-horse open sleigh.
Tom is on his guys. Tom on the accordion and his players singing. And we've always talked about Tom Izzo, the winningest coach in history of Big Ten basketball, in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Clearly, when he recruited these players, singing did not enter into any of this.
Would you like to play for Final Fours and championships and also sing in front of a live audience?
And they said, sure, coach, sign me up. Sign me up.
Well, I love it so much. And by the way, this is what it sounds like every single year, where the accordion is a little bit slower than the players, and it's all kinds of chaos, but it is so much fun for everybody involved, and it's a great way just to celebrate the holidays. And by the way, I think about it as I'm listening to that clip, Will, just a couple of years ago when when Tom Izzo played against Oakland in a basketball game, and he wore an ugly sweater. It was dressed as an elf when he went against Greg Campy, and he was dressed in a holiday sweater as well as he often does. But Tom Izzo, he's got a soft spot for the holidays.
It's pretty amazing, and I remember talking to Campy before that game, and when he saw Tom walk out, he went, "Oh my God, he's going to do it."
He tried for so long.
He's actually going to wear that sweater. So he has a sense of humor, and you have to have a little bit of a sense of humor in all this, but it just becomes such a major tradition. Like a lot of things that catch on, you maybe not know why or you don't see it coming, but this is a big event in East Lansing, Michigan every year. Now, when we come back with more of the sports life, we're going to get to the roots of how all of this started with appearances from Steve Mariucci and John Smoltz. It's all coming up in just a moment.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender?
How little?
A few days in the shop little? But thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
Every kid deserves a chance to feel safe, to have their own bed, to be loved and cared for. That's why I love my foster parents. They make me feel like part of the family.
Raise hope and foster dreams for one of 13,000 Michigan children in foster care. Visit michigan.gov/hope for a home or call 855-MICH-KIDS. That's 855-MICH-KIDS. Sponsored by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and the Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of uncertainty lurking under your hood. You know the feeling. I know I do. That sudden sinking sensation when you see a check engine light or your car unexpectedly breaks down and you're faced with sky-high repair bills. It's time to shield against unexpected repairs with CarShield. CarShield is America's most trusted auto protection company and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Don't let the fear of a breakdown keep you up at night. Trust the Shield, CarShield, and say goodbye to terrifying repair bills and hello to peace of mind. Your plan also comes with 24/7 roadside assistance, courtesy towing, rental car options, and so much more. Don't wait till it's too late. Call CarShield now before a breakdown. Protect your wallet. Protect your car with CarShield. Get our best protection ever. Call now. You'll thank me later. 800-965-1292. 800-965-1292. That's 800-965-1292.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Roxanne Watson is on a mission.
Hello, how are you doing today?
She wants more people to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors.
Are you an organ donor? Yes, I am.
Yay.
My goal is to sign up the most people in the United States.
What drives her? Roxanne's own life was saved through the gift of a heart transplant, made possible by an organ donor.
I decided that day that I was going to devote myself to the cause of organ donation and signing people up and honoring my donor by doing that.
Now she's back to health, and she's a powerful force helping to save lives every day through her work. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life.
8 people can be helped with the major organs, and up to 50 people can be helped with a little bit of everything. And when you think about it that way, that you could help that many people, it's amazing. It really is.
Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Teeman here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, in the city of East Lansing, one of the hardest tickets to get for any show in town, any given year, is not some big stage production, not some Taylor Swift concert. No, it is Tom Izzo at his radio show playing the accordion. I know it sounds a little strange, but it's all true. So anyway, It's just amazing how this whole thing has evolved.
It really is, and it's funny. Tom Izzo and Taylor Swift might be the first time we've heard them in the same sentence before, but nonetheless, it is a huge deal here in mid-Michigan, and we wanted to go ahead and take a journey through this annual tradition that takes place, and we wanted to go back to 2003, the first time ever at Tom Izzo's radio show that he brought with him his accordion. Here's him and host Terry Braverman.
This is the fun time of the year. Coach Izzo has this beautiful gold and white box in front of him. Before he starts, Tom, I have to ask, did you actually take lessons when you were a youngster to learn to play?
No, I have a musical background. I just picked it up on my own.
Ask a silly question, you get a silly answer. Okay, what are you going to do?
Well, I actually, I don't know. I'll try to play Jingle Bells. I haven't practiced as much. So I'll play one song now, and then we'll play some after, so I embarrass myself in front of 200 or 300 people instead of
we have all the youngsters
listening. And if these guys can sing, and I went out today, and I guess it's a little dark here. I'm going to put on these glasses. I bought 4 pair. I sent 3 to the officials of the UCLA game. And, the other ones are going to go right here, but I'm going to give it a... Now, you guys got to go slow, okay? You guys know Jingle Bells? I'm a little nervous.
In 2003, Tom Izzo whips out the accordion for the first time ever on the Tom Izzo Weekly Radio Show. So that was kind of exciting, kind of entertaining, no doubt, surprising for sure. But how did it start?
It's a great question, and that takes us to 2015 on the Tom Izzo Radio Show, where he talked about the first time he ever was introduced to an accordion and what the inspiration was.
Our question comes from Margaret, and her question is, can you talk about how you learned to play the accordion?
Some would question whether the word learn and accordion are in the same. My mother, she was, she played the piano and the organ at church, and she was actually really good. And, I was nothing but sports, and my dad was all for that, and my mother was all against that. And so she convinced me that I had to play something. I didn't want to play the piano, and with my Italian background, the accordion seemed to be something that I could play. So I started taking lessons when I was about 11 or 12, and that year I played little, junior high football or whatever, and I never really had an injury, except that year I broke my thumb and my knuckles one time and 2 fingers different times, all within the same year. And it was about 8 months after I started taking lessons, and I just got this new accordion, and I couldn't play, so I tried a little bit the year after, and then I decided that I better put all my efforts into something else because that wasn't going so good. So I never really played then for like 5-6 years, and I don't know why. When Mariucci and I were actually professors, teachers at Northern Michigan, we had a Christmas party, and neither one of us could get a date, so I brought my accordion and sat him on my shoulder. So it was a real good event, and I practiced a long time then, and come to think of it, I think I played better because I think the singers were better. I mean, I really mean that. But so then it just became a tradition, and sure enough, Mariucci called me today. You're not going to play that stupid accordion again, are you? So he's going to try to pick it up on the internet, and
it's there.
It's there, and see if he can. He was not very musically inclined, so he, like I said, he just kind of sat on my shoulder and had a little tin cup, and we took donations and called it a day,
So there you go. Tom is on his radio show talking about how he started playing the accordion. Well, one of his longtime best buddies, maybe his best buddy, probably, Steve Mariucci. The stories about these two at Northern Michigan in school are legendary at this point. And the legend grows, by the way, every year. like the fish, gets a little bigger. But anyway, so on one of the Christmas shows, Steve Mariucci joined Tom.
That's right, and we flash back now to 2013. You heard that he sits on Izzo's shoulder and rattles a tin cup. Well, here's Steve Mariucci talking a little bit about the glory days.
Hey, I was telling him the story about that first Christmas, when we used to have Christmas, Steve and I were GAs, and they'd have the staff Christmas party, and everybody bring their wives or significant others, and I would have brought my girlfriend, but Mariucci couldn't find one, so I didn't want to go by and have him go by himself, so I always took him as my guest, and I used to sit him on my shoulder, guys, and he had a little tin can, and I played, and he collected money, and that's how we ate. Right, Mooch?
Is Izzo playing that accordion again today?
Oh, he is, Steve.
Huh?
I kept
on
the
the
tradition.
housetop, or what does he play?
There you go. That used to be my favorite. Jingle bells I'm a little better at now.
You guys all thought that Izzo always wanted to be a coach, but at one point he was trying to figure out if he wanted to coach or audition for the Lawrence Welk show with that accordion.
When was the first time you saw Tom play the accordion?
Oh, God. It helped me out. I can't remember. It was pretty. How old were we? Were we in high school? Did you play that thing in high school?
Yeah, I played in high school, but you probably weren't around then. But maybe in college, I guess.
Yeah.
All
I remember is like, why do you play that? Really, why do you play that? I thought the only thing he could play was the radio, but then he started playing that thing, and I was kind of impressed. And then your grandfather, right, Tony Izzo, didn't he play that or the concertina or something?
Concertina, right?
Yeah,
right. It's in the family. It's in the family.
Hey, when Izzo and I were in college, remember when we were at Spooner Hall, we put up a Christmas tree and left it up for 2 years, and then and all the needles fell off like after the first month, and the LRA made us finally take it out. It was a fire hazard, so after a couple of years, we took the Christmas tree out.
Yeah, you were a hell of a roommate, that's for sure.
And just think how respectable those two guys are now.
It's amazing, isn't it? What a great story it is. But by the way, Tom Izzo isn't the only notable celebrity in sports that can play the accordion. He's got a pretty interesting connection, not just with being around mid-Michigan, with a hurler and MLB pitcher John Smoltz, who's now on the airwaves. And he joined the airwaves of the Tom Izzo radio show back in 2017 to talk about their love and uncommon kind of connection over the accordion.
I thought we'd bring on somebody who plays the accordion, somebody that he could talk shop with.
Well, I don't play it.
Well,
damn.
Well, I thought this guy might help you. Welcome, John Smoltz, to our show.
Gianni.
Oh, it's good to have me. And I can tell you, it's good to have me on the program. I can tell you right now, Tom plays the accordion way better than I do.
Hey, John, you must have got hit in the head with a baseball or something, because I promise you that I think both of us are very average or below average.
You know what? I've always told people that the accordion prepared me, disciplined me, gave me structure. I have not played it since I've been 7 years old. But from 4 to 7 years old, it set the stage for my discipline, and it set the stage for what it's like to work hard, practice, and try to perfect.
Well, John, it was so. I got to tell people, we sent a text to him today. Lori gave us the phone number. And when you text back said, I'm in, I was so jacked because I knew Tom would be. And unfortunately, you're not going to help me much with this accordion, are you?
No, he's in good hands. Look, he is as determined of a person I've ever met. And you know what? The best thing about playing a musical instrument is if you miss a note, so what? You keep going.
Keep going.
My whole life, I've grown up listening to accordion. It's a beautiful instrument, and he's in good hands. You know, that's part of what he knows growing up.
Well, John, thanks so much for taking time to join us, okay?
Thanks, John.
My pleasure.
Now, just think about this a minute, Dalton. We're talking about the accordion, And the two people talking about the accordion, one is in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, and the other one is in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame.
There's only one place you could find something like that.
I think they should put an accordion in both of those halls with their name underneath. Like, Tom Izzo played this. John Smoltz played
Yeah, I
this.
like it. I like it.
There you go. Well, when we come back with more of the Sports Live, we're going to talk some football. Penn State is playing for a national championship. They're one of the 12. More on that in just a moment.
So, I got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
Here's a real-life story that affects 50% of all of us out there. It's called divorce. If you've gotten divorced and now you're struggling to pay your bills and your credit card debts are completely out of control, you need to call this special debt relief hotline right now. We help people with all kinds of money problems caused by different life challenges, a divorce, a job loss, even heavy medical bills. All these life events can sometimes financially stress you out and cause you to get out of control. We help people get their lives back by showing them ways to consolidate and reduce their debt, in some cases for a fraction of what they owe. If your credit card balances are more than $10,000, call us and learn how to reduce your credit card bills and monthly payments now. Here's our number.
Paid for by Debt.com. Call now, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584. That's 800-810-1584.
That ought to do it. Totally energy efficient.
Oh no, not again. This time, we're getting help.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the battle of energy efficiency improvements. In this corner, Mr. I can save money and do it on my own. And in this corner, Miss Let's get it done right with some help. Fight!
Or you could just go to avoidenergydrama.com. From sealing your home to helpful loan options, you'll find all the tips and tools you need to stop wasting energy and stay comfortable. Avoidenergydrama.com. Brought to you by Michigan Saves.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Unlike other health concerns, mental illness is not always easy to see. Depression won't show up on an eye chart, and you can't measure it on your bathroom scale. Sorting out a mental health concern is not something to attempt on your own. You won't find a bipolar disorder by looking at a thermometer. Like many other health conditions, help for mental illness takes professional diagnosis and treatment. Anxiety won't just go away under a stick-on bandage. So the sooner you seek treatment, the better. If you or a loved one has a mental health concern, don't go it alone. Find out what to do. For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Learn more at samhsa.gov/support. That's samhsa.gov/support.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Teeman here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, Steve Jones, the iconic voice of the Nittany Lions in football and men's basketball, has been on this show several times. And the last time Steve joined us, one of his traumas was he decided he was going to have a weekend off and he was going to do something with his wife. Well, that kind of got messed up because they had to go play for the Big Ten title. Well, then you go, well, there's the next weekend. Well, now you're getting ready for the national championship playoffs. And, oh, by the way, the basketball team got pretty good. So now you're looking at maybe March something. So, Steve, my thought was maybe you should say to your wife, how do you look in April?
Yeah, I may just take her with me. I mean, it's like, hey, how would you like now? Like, say, for example, a trip to Rutgers like we did last week. No. Let's go to New Jersey. No. But maybe the USC-UCLA trip. Let's go to California. So there are ways where I can manipulate this in such a way where I can at least come out, maybe not completely out of the woods, but at least I can see the edge of the field.
Well, this football team you've been covering all year has had some really magic moments, and now here you are in the first 12-team playoff, going to take on SMU, and you're going to get to host, which I think was a great move by the committee to make sure you have some nice crowds for these first-round games. But at the end of the day, before we get into this matchup, your take on the Penn State season in general.
Steady and consistent, Will. I mean, that's from day one all the way through, and that's what won the day for them. They were a steady and consistent team from day one. Not too many highs, not too many lows. Just for the most part, went out and took care of their own business. Now, did they have to survive at USC and come back? Yes, but that shows you something. Did they have to survive at Minnesota? Yes, but that shows you something. How do you handle adversity? And not only that, doing it on the road. Against Oregon, Oregon really is a terrific team. There's no getting around it. They're just really good. A lot of speed and a team that has some power in the trenches. Gabriel is an accurate, smart quarterback who's made 1.2 million collegiate starts. And I think that it showed in the plays he made. Yet Penn State went toe-to-toe with them and had the ball with 2 minutes to go looking to tie the game up. So that tells you that Penn State has earned its spot at number 6. They earned it. And now they get an opportunity against an SMU team that, to its credit, had a big second half against Clemson. And that second half probably saved that at-large bid for them.
Well, Steve, look, you've been a part of some pretty big games and pretty big environments there at Beaver Stadium. Before we talk about the game, imagining a college football playoff game at Beaver Stadium, it's officially a whiteout there at Penn State. What you're getting ready to experience, do you think there's anything that's going to be able to even rival what this game is going to be like in the atmosphere?
No, I think this is something where everybody's been hungry for it, and the atmosphere, I think, is going to be tremendous. I mean, the fact the game is at noon, I don't think bothers people. I mean, it's been something that's bothered them in the past, like big noon kickoff. It's happening everywhere that people are getting bothered by it. But I think the fact that this is a playoff game, it's something that has never happened here before. It's something that's never happened at Notre Dame. It's something that's never happened at Texas. It's something that's never happened at Ohio State. And to have this happen for the first time like this, I think is something that's going to be very special. The tickets have been flying out the door for the game. People want to be a part of it. They're not too concerned about the weather. And I think that this is something everybody from day one, the goal was to get to this game. And now they're in this game, and now the goal is to win it and move on.
Well, Steve, if we ask you a little bit about this game specifically, because SMU, you mentioned a little bit ago, they lose in the ACC title game to Clemson, and so they're the last at-large team to make the college football playoff. What do we know about SMU as they get ready to battle Penn State?
Well, they had to change quarterbacks early in the season, and Kevin Jennings came on and was playing for them at quarterback, and he has made a tremendous difference for them. He's a kid that has gone out and hit, to his credit, 66% of his passes this season. A lot of people think of him as a running quarterback. Penn State's really only faced, I would say, 2 guys all year that would pull the ball down and run. Damon Williams would be one from Washington. The other one would be Garrett Green from West Virginia in the opening game. 2 guys that will pull the ball down and run, yet I don't consider him a, quote, running quarterback. He likes to operate from the pocket. And Jennings has played very well for them. Brashad Smith has gained over 1,200 yards for them. Transfer from Miami, stepped in, had been a receiver before. Now they have him a tailback. It's really helped. Roderick Daniels, I think Jordan Hudson, Keyshawn Smith have all been rock-steady receivers, along with Matthew Hibner, who is the tight end. They've played very well. And then defensively, I think Kobe Wilson's a terrific player. 110 tackles, couple of interceptions for them so far this season. Their secondary has been helped out a lot with guys like Jonathan McGill having 3 picks on the season. But they have one really odd, and Colin Rogers, by the way, the place kicker, I've never seen this guy. So I don't know if you ever have. He's 8 of 10 inside of 40 yards. Well, that's fine. That's normal. He's 15 of 21 beyond 40 yards. I mean, in the season, I don't mean in his career, this season, which is remarkable. But now let me give you the stat of all stats. Their even giveaway takeaway. They're plus 11 at home. They are minus 11 on the road. It's shocking. I've never seen that before. I don't know if you guys have, but I've never seen that before.
I can't say I have either. That's pretty puzzling, and that'll certainly be pretty big being on the road, that maybe turnovers play a part of this. But if we reflect back on Penn State in that Big Ten championship game, I mean, they lose only by a possession to maybe the best team in the country right now, the Oregon Ducks. And what I thought was really impressive in that, Steve, we talked a lot about Oregon up front defensively heading into that game. Penn State gashed them for 297 yards on the ground against the Ducks.
Yeah.
You had Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton, both over 100 yards. That seems to maybe be the ticket going against the Mustangs, is just how strong the rushing attack is with the momentum.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big part of that game and a big part of that win. That game for Penn State. It was their ability to run the ball. And I think when you have two guys go over 100, it's the 39th time in the history of Penn State football that's happened, and they've done it a couple times themselves. To do that, and the way they opened up holes against a team that hasn't had holes opened up against them. Ash Genti did run for 192 against them for Boise State, but they held Ohio State to 140 yards total rushing. Ohio State, that's Henderson and Judkins, and that's when they had their offensive line. They had their center. They had Simmons at left tackle. They had everybody. They only got 140 against them. The fact that Penn State did that shows you a lot about the development of the offensive line, the blocking of the tight ends. The two running backs we already know are ultra-talented to begin with. But when you can do that and then get them featured in the pass game, and Singleton caught another touchdown pass, it makes a big difference in how you attack. Penn State's offense did not have any trouble a couple of weeks ago running the ball against Oregon.
Well, Steve, one of the great things about the NCAA basketball tournament, especially on the men's side, there's always that Cinderella team, a team that finds a way, like Oakland did last year, to knock off some big-name opponents. In football, though, I don't sense we have that opportunity to see so many upsets. Do you think it's possible we can have some of that magic, or at the end of the day, do you think the best teams most likely will win?
You know, it's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up, because I brought this up to other people before, why they needed to go to 12. And I've talked about the magic of the NCAA tournament. And I remember 1991, I did a game. Penn State played UCLA in the Carrier Dome. They won the Atlantic 10. And they were a 13 seed, and they beat UCLA by 5. It's one of those, like, wow, a 13 beat a 4, all right? When you look at the 14 playoff, the greatest upset was the first year when the 4th-seeded Ohio State Buckeyes beat Alabama. That's your biggest upset? Really? Right? And we always remember, it's not the Final Four we remember so much. We always remember the upsets leading up to the Final Four. That opening weekend is just a fun, wild weekend. College football, you're right, has never experienced that. And look, everybody's good. I mean, everybody that's in this tournament is really good. I mean, there's no team in there you sit back and go, push over. Nope, not there. So when you have quality against quality, you're going to get some really, really good games.
Well, final question, Steve. What does Penn State have to do to move on in this tournament against SMU?
Well, when they go out there on Saturday, they're going to have to make sure that they play clean football. Because when they played Oregon a couple of weeks ago, the issue was quite simple. You know, they had the 4 15-yard penalties, and they had the 2 turnovers in the game. Oregon didn't turn the ball over once and had fewer penalties. So Penn State has to take care of the ball, and they have to get takeaways. They have to take advantage of an SMU team that is minus 11 on the road, giveaway, takeaway. You know, and when I talk about minus 11, they have 3 takeaways on the road, and they've given the ball away 14 times in the 6 games they've played on the road. Penn State has to get some takeaways against this team. They'll have to do a good job of controlling Jennings when he decides to run the football. Keep him within the parameters of the pocket. And then Penn State offensively needs to go out, eat some clock, get some touchdowns. It's not a game where you settle for field goals unless you absolutely have to. I think those would be some of the things I'll be looking for.
Well, Steve, I hope you have a great broadcast. Hope the Nittany Lions get to move on, and let me know how that trip with your wife goes when you go play basketball in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I will. As a matter of fact, we're still negotiating it right now.
I appreciate it, Steve.
Will, Dalton, you guys are the best. Thank you.
And as always, a fun chat with Steve Jones, the voice of Penn State. Back with more as we're going to talk some Buckeye football, but first a break.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender?
How little?
A few days in the shop little. But thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto Owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask.
Ask your independent agent if Auto Owners makes sense for you.
So I graduated last year and got a job. Sweet! But it got boring. I didn't really have a purpose. Then I started volunteering with Community Action. It's a statewide network with 29 agencies across Michigan. Community Action helps people with food, housing, utilities, childcare, senior services, you name it. I found my purpose, helping people, changing lives. Won't you join me? Call 1-855-MI-ACTION or go to MichiganCommunityAction.org. Sponsored by Michigan Community Action and Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
This is a potter's field. When people can't pay for their funerals, they are buried here. It is a lonely, desolate place, littered with unmarked headstones. No one visits. No one leaves flowers. But it doesn't have to be that way. For as low as $1 a day, you can ensure your family will have the money to pay your funeral expenses. We offer burial insurance plans that pay up to $30,000. Considering the average funeral costs more than $10,000, that's peace of mind for your family. There are no medical exams, your rates won't increase, and your policy cannot be canceled as long as you make your premium payments. Call now to get approved in minutes and ensure your final resting place is more than just a pauper's grave in a potter's field.
800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. That's 800-562-2407. Paid for by Final Expense Direct.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Tiemann here along with Dalton Shetler. And don't forget, Auto Owners Insurance, simple human sense. Ask your independent agent if Auto Owners make sense for you. Well, for the 6th time since we've been having some kind of college football playoffs, Ohio State has been involved in it. And, of course, this is the big one, 12 teams. And for the first time ever, home sites for these playoff games. And the Ohio State Buckeyes come up with an 8 seed. They will be hosting Saturday night Tennessee in the last game of the first round. And to try to make some sense out of all this, we've asked Tim May of Lettermen Row to rejoin us. And Tim, before I talk to you about this important game, and I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but I'll beat it anyway. Are the Buckeye faithful kind of over that Michigan game yet?
No, I mean, the folks who are really, really down the dumps about it will never get over it, because they've stacked 4 in a row now. So they're never going to get over it because you can't go back and play it again, although I think some people think you can. But the bottom line is you move on. The beauty of modern-day college football is that's not the last game of your season, which is why it became so cutthroat way back in the 40s, late 30s and 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, is that it could be the last game of your season. And so, and now, of course, you've got a playoff. I mean, Ohio State is facing the prospect of perhaps 4 more games, starting with the game against Tennessee, but 4 more games to possibly win a national championship. So really, if you look at it and chop it up, Ohio State has played 3 quarters of its season. Now comes the last quarter, what they would like to be a 16-game season. So we'll see if it ends up being that.
Yeah, that's a fair point, Tim. And I'm curious too, because this matchup seems to be pretty electric when you look at it. I mean, the way Tennessee was rolling through September and early into October, you brought up hardware. The September Heisman might have went to Nico Iamaleava, the quarterback for Tennessee, and then, of course, they stubbed their toe at Arkansas. They dropped to Georgia, but nothing to really be ashamed of. This seems to be a really good football matchup.
Yeah, if you could go back and play at the end of September, boy, you have something, right? But both of these teams took their lumps. I mean, Tennessee's toughest game of the year, everybody knew was going to be Georgia. They got beat at Georgia, and then they lost a huge head scratcher at Arkansas. But Ohio State and if it was a Martian looking at their schedule, and they're playing Oregon at Oregon, and you see the preseason hype for Oregon. These were going to be the 2 best teams in the Big Ten. They lost that game by 1 point. But if you're looking at in Michigan, you don't know anything about the rivalry, but you know that Michigan is 6-5, and Ohio State scores what they score. I can't even remember the score. Ohio State scores 10 points against Michigan. That's how far away it is to me in my brain, fellas. You're going to a 6-5 team, and you're just going, what the hell happened there? Now the good thing is at least the selection committee for the college football playoff understands that was a rivalry. I mean, what the hell? Ward Manuel was the chairman of the committee and the athletic director at Michigan. But yeah, these are 2 teams that didn't quite get it done when they really needed to get it done this year, one in surprising fashion and one against the best team on their schedule. So, this is redemption moment for both of these teams. That when you first think of them, you think of offense, but really these are 2 pretty damn good defenses. And defenses that like to get after you can play pretty well in the secondary. So it's really kind of curious what kind of game this is going to turn out to be. I mean, the forecast going into the week is something like temperatures in the high 30s, maybe not a lot of wind, maybe a little precipitation late, but how much that will affect these teams remains to be seen. It's really funny that so many people couldn't wait to get a Southern team playing at a Northern team in December, in winter, and now you got it, but I'm not sure the host team even wants it any more than the Southern team does.
Tim, away from the game just for a second, and you'll relate to this a little bit. When there was the discussion about maybe we should have a playoff like they did in 1AA football, where the champion and the runner-up would play 16 games in a regular season. But the powers to be said, no, we can't do this sort of thing because it's bad for the potential health of the players. We're not going to do this. So here we are. We're doing it. Is it all about money?
Of course it is, to answer your question succinctly. But then I'll expand now. You didn't want to, when I was growing up, there were 7, 8 bowl games. I mean, the Blue Bonnet Bowl came along, and the Gator Bowl, and the Liberty Bowl.
to join the Big Four, which back then were, the Cotton Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Orange Bowl, and Rose Bowl. And then other bowls popped up. And now all of a sudden, almost everybody, if you had a winning record, and some of, as it turns out now recently, don't have a winning record or pretty close to it, you had a place to go in the off season. Number one, to maybe make a little bit more money, but number two, to give your team a little bit of a vacation for a job either well done or, mediocrely done. I don't even know if that's a word. But and then you figured out when you got the BCS going finally that networks would pay a lot of money to see a national championship game. Oh, man, they're going to pay even more to see a tournament. Let's make it 4 teams. And now, of course, they're paying big time to see 12 teams. Why they didn't go to 16 is beyond me, and you wouldn't have all this bickering right now. I always said if in the BCS era you had maybe 1 or 2 other teams that could have been in it. In the CFP 4-team era, you had maybe 3 or 4 other teams that could argue to be that 4th team. But now you've got 10 teams that think they should have been in it, and they were wronged. Even though Alabama lost to Vanderbilt and lost big time at a mediocre Oklahoma, they should still be in the college football playoff. Give me a break. So, but the bottom line is it's money. Follow the money. And it's probably going to expand again to 14 or 16 teams sooner rather than later because you have more inventory to throw out there for the networks to bid on. So, yeah, it's always the money. The bottom line is, as I said when this first was proposed, 4 extra games. I mean, even the teams that get a bye, they will have played in the conference championship game as we've seen. So they're playing, in essence, 4 extra games after the regular season. College rosters, in my opinion, you're going to have a couple that skirt through here and don't have a major injury, but you're going to have some that their team is going to be altered if they play as deep as a 3rd game. Several of these teams, their team is going to be altered maybe greatly when they lose 1 or 2 key players. So we'll see how this goes. They're not built like NFL teams. And NFL also has the waiver wire, the practice squad, and everything else going for it. So we'll see how it goes. But, yeah, they could say what they want to. It's all for the dollars.
Tim, we nominate you here on the show as the arbiter of Ohio State football.
You, but I don't really have an opinion. Can I go ahead?
I was going to say we nominate you as the arbiter for Ohio State football history here on this show. I mean, you've seen a lot of Ohio State football throughout your life. You've seen a lot of games there at Ohio Stadium, at the Horseshoe. Never before, Tim, have you seen a playoff game at that stadium. What are you anticipating in terms of an atmosphere? Is this going to rival anything else you've ever seen? Could this end up being one of the craziest atmospheres and environments you've seen at Ohio Stadium in history?
Yeah, but I would argue that there have been several seasons, and this is one of them. I mean, Indiana came in undefeated and ranked number 5 in the country. Ohio State, to get to Indianapolis, had to beat Indiana and Michigan at home. And, of course, those were afternoon games, as you're pointing out, noon starts. I was hoping this was going to be a noon start because I'm telling you, the people sitting in the stands at 8 o'clock on a crispy first day of winter when the temperature's going to be in the 30s and falling, I give it up to them. But, that's what's really going to add to it is the night atmosphere, the cold, but also you go into this game, both teams will go into this game knowing it is won and or done. It is won and or done. You lose, you're done. That's what's going to be interesting is to watch the pitch at which this game is played. That's why I keep going back to the roster size. Fellas, when Ohio State beat Miami in double overtime in the 2002 season to win that national championship, which was the BCS, only 2 teams played, neither one of those teams could have played a game a week or a week and a half later and be close to what they had been because everybody was banged up. There were a couple of major injuries in that game. That's what's I didn't emphasize a minute ago. This isn't just playing like a regular season game. You're playing a game at championship pitch, and everybody's going to be playing as hard as they can, hitting as hard as they can, and blocking as hard as they can. That's what's going to be interesting to watch. But yeah, you got to figure, even though Ohio State fans were extremely bummed the last time they showed up at Ohio Stadium, extremely bummed 3 hours later, they, like any other fans, the good ones get over it and move on to the next challenge of rooting for their home team. And the last 2 games, you can't blame the home fans at Ohio State for not caring and getting into it. Yeah, they booed in the fourth quarter after a couple of those offensive. Ohio State only ran 7 plays against Michigan in the fourth quarter. Of course, there's going to be boos because it was kind of pitiful what the offense did, and just slamming their head against a brick wall against the one thing that Michigan had that Ohio State didn't. Michigan's clear advantage in one position group was the defensive line. I mean, by that I meant the best part of its football team. And Ohio State decided that was the place they were going to throw their hammers, and didn't work out. So it'll be a curious crowd. Let's put it that way. Only 3,500 tickets were made available to Tennessee fans. I'm sure they'll find more elsewhere, but it's going to be predominantly an Ohio State crowd in the cold, possible precipitation, rooting for their home team. It should be marvelous.
Well, final question, Tim. What do the Buckeyes have to do to win this one against Tennessee and move on?
Well, what they got to do is they got to score more points than Tennessee. And that sounds funny, right? You can go into a game like Ohio State was, favored by 19.5 or 20 points against Michigan. And I picked the final score to be 29-13. I was so damn close. I got half of it right, So you just got to score at this point. All this mattered the last 2 games for Ohio State. And all that matters now is the W. But Ohio State's got to throw the ball. That's what it does probably better than anybody else in the country. They've got a deeper wide receiver core than anybody in the country. Tennessee has a really good one. Tennessee has a really good running back. Ohio State has 2 good running backs. But with Ohio State's they've rebuilt their offensive line, 3.5 times this season. So we'll see what they come out with because of injuries. We'll see what they come out with on against Tennessee. But, that was the thing that was missing was a consistent running game, both against Indiana and Michigan. So if they can get that cranked up a little bit, we'll see where it goes. But Ohio State, I still think, has the edge offensively because the weather it's going to be chilly, but it's not cold. But it's not going to be inclement, it doesn't look like. And where they fouled up, they threw the ball 33 times, as Ryan Day responded to my question after the game, as opposed to running at 26. But about 10 or 12 of those runs were wasted where you could have thrown the ball. You've got Jeremiah Smith, one of the more exciting freshmen in the country, one of the great receivers in the country, Emeka Egbuka, Carnell Tate, Brennan Ennis, a guy who's underrated who scored a touchdown against Penn State. You've got those guys in your receiving core along with the tight ends and the running backs who can also catch the ball. That's where Ohio State really needs to take advantage.
Well, as always, Tim, I sure appreciate it. Hope you get to stay warm for that one against Tennessee.
And stop Tennessee, by the way. That's the other thing they need to do.
I appreciate it, Tim.
I will stay warm.
So there you go. Tim May from Lettermen Row, always an insightful conversation with a little bit of humor mixed in throughout. Well, when we come back, some parting shots in just a moment.
So, got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
So I graduated last year and got a job. Sweet! But it got boring. I didn't really have a purpose. Then I started volunteering with Community Action. It's a statewide network with 29 agencies across Michigan. Community Action helps people with food, housing, utilities, childcare, senior services, you name it. I found my purpose, helping people, changing lives. Won't you join me? Call 1-855-MI-ACTION or go to MichiganCommunityAction.org. Sponsored by Michigan Community Action and Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
If you have diabetes, listen up. If you have insurance, you can qualify for a continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends and spend more time in range, significantly lowering your A1C. More importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and if you've seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for your own CGM right now. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances will cover your CGM, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the Aptiva Medical CGM Health Hotline right now.
800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. That's 800-948-6912.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Anybody ready for a burger?
I'm State Fire Marshal Rich Miller, reminding everyone to think safety first when it comes to outdoor grilling, whether it's charcoal or gas. Never overload your grill with food. Excess fat and grease will create large flames. Grill outdoors and never inside or in a garage. Never leave a grill unattended and always keep a fire extinguisher nearby. For more tips on safe grilling, visit the Bureau of Fire Services website at michigan.gov/BFS.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Tiemann here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, who would have guessed one of the great moments of our series would be Tom Izzo on the accordion? Not I.
Spreading Christmas cheer loud for all to hear.
All to hear. Oh, that's very good, Dalton. That's pretty good. And, of course, fun chat with Steve Jones and Tim May. So it is now time for our parting shots.
And by the way, if you missed any of that, including the accordion, follow us at Sports Life Now on Twitter, X. That's again at Sports Life Now. You can catch all of it. But we're doing for parting shots a bit of a Christmas holiday theme here. Your biggest Christmas or holiday wish with Big Ten sports. For me, I'm taking a look at basketball, and I want to take a look at both the Big Ten men's and women's. For the men, my big wish for this season is when we get to the last 2 weeks, we still have 4 or 5 teams in consideration in a chase to maybe become champions of this league. I think it's wide open enough. I think there's enough parity where we could have absolute anarchy in the last 2 weeks. That's a big wish just as a spectator. I think that'd be fun to consume. On the women's side, the Big Ten wish is to get 11 teams into the NCAA tournament. Believe it or not, it's possible on the women's side. That's my big wish for the Big Ten this year.
Okay, here's mine. Mine's a little more universal, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
My Christmas wish for the Big Ten, can we somehow fix what's going on in college athletics? Can we somehow find something reasonable with NIL? Something reasonable with the portal? And my fear, Dalton, is if we don't, we might destroy something we all love.
I think that's a good point.
There you go.
No Grinches here.
And that's good to know. So with that, that's a wrap for our show this week. And as always, thanks for joining us. And we should also note that you can find us wherever you find your podcasts, like SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple. And make sure you check us out and hit subscribe. As always, thanks to the Big Ten Network. The Sports Life is produced by Dalton Shetler and assisted by Owen Cronin. Our executive producer is Wendy Hart. So on behalf of Dalton Shetler, I'm Will Tiemann, and thanks for your time.